The rain had begun its soft, persistent patter against the pavement as Amelia trudged up the driveway of their Bristol semi-detached house, her canvas tote bag slung over one shoulder and her phone glowing in her hand. It was just past 11 p.m., and the streetlights cast long, amber pools on the wet tarmac. She was wearing the uniform of a tired but stylish 2025 university student, high-waisted barrel-leg jeans in a warm charcoal grey, a cream cable-knit jumper that fell off one shoulder, and minimalist white trainers already speckled with raindrops, a look in line with the season's embrace of heritage textures and relaxed silhouettes. Their home stood quietly at the end of a cul-de-sac in West Briontiawym, its red brick facade softened by climbing ivy and flanked by a sleek, matte black electric gate, part of a comprehensive smart security system her mother had installed after a spate of opportunistic thefts in the area. The system included motion-sensing cameras, app-controlled lighting, and a gate that required a key fob tap to both open and re-secure. Amelia had used the fob to let herself in, as always. But tonight, distracted by a frantic group chat about tomorrow's sociology essay deadline, she'd walked straight through without waiting for the soft click whir that signaled the gate's relock. She didn't even notice. Inside, the house exhaled warmth. The living room glowed with indirect LED strips beneath floating oak shelves, and the kitchen beyond, with its marble countertops, matte black fixtures, and open-plan layout, was a study in modern traditional Bristol design, blending clean lines with comforting textures like woven pendant lights and linen upholstered stools. She dropped her bag by the stairs, kicked off her trainers, and padded upstairs without a backward glance. She didn't know it yet, but her carelessness would unravel everything. At 2:17 a.m., the house jolted awake. A series of sharp chimes erupted from the security panel in the hallway, the motion alert for the front driveway. Amelia's mother, Helen, was out of bed in an instant, her heart hammering against her ribs. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand, fingers flying to the home security app. The live feed showed two figures in dark hoodies lingering by the gate, one tugging at the handle, the other scanning the front windows with a torch. Helen's breath caught. The gate, it was open. She triggered the floodlights remotely. The figures froze, then bolted down the street, vanishing into the rain-slicked shadows. She called the police immediately. They arrived within minutes, took a statement, reviewed the CCTV, and confirmed the only point of access had been the unlocked gate. No forced entry. No damage. But the violation was absolute. When Helen confronted Amelia over tea the next morning, her voice was low, controlled, but her eyes were stormy. "You forgot to lock the gate," she said, not as a question, but as a statement of devastating fact. Amelia's stomach dropped. She remembered now the fob in her hand, the buzz of her phone, the essay deadline screaming in her mind. "Mum, I'm so sorry, I didn't even think that's the problem," Helen cut in, setting her mug down with deliberate calm. "You didn't think. And because of that, strangers stood outside our home, testing our doors. In 2025, Amelia, that's not just forgetfulness. That's negligence. And it puts us both at risk." Amelia stared into her tea, shame burning her cheeks. She treated the gate like an afterthought, not the first line of defense in a world where smart alarm systems and remote monitoring were essential for suburban safety. Helen didn't raise her voice. She never did when it was serious. Instead, she stood, walked to the oak dresser in the dining room, and opened the bottom drawer. From it, she took a smooth, polished wooden paddle, not ornate, not cruel, but undeniably present. It had lived in that drawer since Amelia was 12, used only twice before, once after she'd lied about skipping school, and once after she'd stolen a lipstick from Boots. "Come to the study," Helen said quietly. The study was Amelia's least favorite room, a small, book-lined space with a single armchair and stern oil paintings of long-dead relatives. It was where serious conversations happened, where consequences were meted. "I want you to understand," Helen said, standing before her, "that this isn't about anger. It's about accountability. In this house, we protect each other. And last night, you failed that duty." She administered the punishment swiftly, firmly, 6 measured strokes, delivered over Amelia's jeans. It stung, deeply, but what hurt more was the quiet disappointment in her mother's eyes. Afterward, Helen handed her a notepad. "You will write a list of all security protocols. You'll test the gate lock every time you enter or leave for the next 2 weeks. And you're grounded. No nights out. No exceptions." Amelia nodded, tears welling, her bottom throbbing in time with her heartbeat. In a Britain where parenting increasingly favored gentle structure over punishment, this was a stark, old-school reminder that some lessons demanded physical memory. The next morning, Amelia dressed slowly, soft oatmeal roll-neck sweater, straight-leg corduroys in forest green, wool-blend socks. She wanted to look put together, respectful. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of sourdough toast and bergamot tea, her mother's favorite. Helen stood at the counter, chopping apples, her posture rigid. Amelia poured 2 mugs of tea, added honey to both the way her mum liked it, and placed one beside her. "Mum," she began, voice trembling only slightly, "I owe you more than sorry. I was careless. I treated your rules like nagging, not protection. And last night, I could have gotten us hurt. Or worse." She swallowed. "I know you lock that gate every single time because you love me. And I dishonored that." Helen turned, her eyes softening just a fraction. She didn't speak, but she took the mug, and that small gesture felt like the first crack of light through storm clouds. The days that followed were steeped in quiet atonement. Amelia researched recent break-ins in Bristol and learned that opportunistic thefts near unsecured driveways had risen by 18% in the past year. She noticed her mother checking the locks twice before bed now, her shoulders tight with residual fear. She began dressing with more care, not for vanity, but as an outward sign of her internal shift. She wore structured knit vests over turtlenecks, paired with wide-leg trousers in muted earth tones, echoing the 2025 trend of architectural, experimental fashion that honored the body while projecting maturity. She also took charge of the home's security. She synced the gate sensor to her phone, set a nightly 10 p.m. reminder, and even reprogrammed the smart lights to activate if the gate remained open past curfew. The house, with its crisp white walls, textured plaster finishes, and curated gallery wall of family photos, began to feel less like a cage of punishment and more like a sanctuary she was honored to protect. 2 weeks later, on a blustery Sunday evening, Amelia brewed a pot of Earl Grey and carried 2 mugs into the living room. Helen sat curled in the linen sofa, reading the Sunday Times, rain whispering against the bay window. "I made something," Amelia said, handing her a folded sheet of thick stationery. Helen unfolded it. At the top, in neat script, it read, Home Security Pledge Amelia, November 2025. Below were bullet points. I will lock the gate with the fob every time I enter or leave. I will test the security app weekly. I will never assume safety is guaranteed. I will protect this home because it protects me. At the bottom, she'd added, I'm sorry. I'm learning. I love you. Helen's eyes filled. Without a word, she set the paper aside and pulled Amelia into a hug, long, tight, and full of everything left unsaid. Amelia breathed in the familiar scent of her mother's lavender hand cream and felt the last knot of shame dissolve. That night, before bed, Amelia stepped outside to take out the recycling. The air was cool, damp. She walked to the gate, tapped the fob against the sensor, and waited. With a soft, satisfying hum, the gate slid shut, sealing them in. She stood there for a moment, listening to the quiet of the street, the distant hum of the city. Then she turned and walked back inside, closing the door softly behind her.